Hello and welcome everyone to our LinkedIn Live. Every now and then, each week, actually, on average, we broadcast our lives through different medias, covering different topics that interest us. Some of you might have seen the topic of today's meeting and thought, virtual try-ons, what is it, 2012? So it's not. It's 2022, but the topic has still a lot to uncover. The virtual try-on topic has still a lot to uncover. And by a lot, I mean you could build a report around that, which we actually did. We took a dozen of virtual try-on solutions and grilled them. We took brands like Gucci, Ray-Ban, Pandora, Charlotte Tilbury. So the bar was set quite high. And we came up with some interesting conclusions, and we would like to share them with you today. And by we, I mean me and the experts joining me today. That is, first of all, Agata Rączewska, our UX practice expert. Hello, Agata.
Hi.
Also joining us will be Lukasz Borowski, who is our senior UX researcher. Hello, Lukasz.
Hi.
And Grzegorz Mrukwa. Grzegorz, are you there?
Hey, I'm there.
Grzegorz is our staff engineering manager of data science. It's great to meet you guys here. First of all, let me encourage our audience to ask the questions as we go throughout the live. We will try to address them every now and then. Secondly, guys, this is not the first time that we meet focusing around virtual try-on topic, either internally or externally. So my first question to you is, can we consider ourselves as virtual try-on experts already? What do you think? Agata, Lukasz, Grzegorz?
Oh, I think we are definitely way closer than we were before. And the research that we have done was super interesting, very informative. And like you said, it seemed like technology of yesterday, but somehow it's gaining traction right now. So it was very interesting for us to see what users have to say about it. And when it comes to understanding users' feelings, I'd say we're really getting there to knowing what they are.
When I said meeting a few times already, especially it is about Grzegorz, because we did meet a few times about virtual try-on. Also Grzegorz. So Grzegorz, do you consider yourself an expert also already?
Well, I would need to ask in which virtual try-ons, because in investigating the virtual try-ons themselves is actually a very, very broad topic, and each of the kinds of virtual try-on actually requires a lot of in-depth knowledge, so that you understand what are the small, slight differences in how for example, clothes virtual try-on works as compared to shoes virtual try-on or jewelry virtual try-on. These seem very similar, at least from the user's perspective, but actually the tech behind it is completely different very often. So I think we already know the distinctions, we already know those details a lot. So I believe there is some expertise in the team, not only me, but also our computer vision team. Whether we can cover all of virtual try-ons, well, that highly depends on the customer's setup. But I'm pretty positive about that.
We are getting there. We are getting there in order to cover all of the virtual try-on topics. And Lukasz, what do you think? You did a fantastic job when creating the virtual try-on report with us. Do you consider yourself an expert on that matter?
Thank you for that. But I think that we've gained a lot of knowledge how to test that kind of solution. What is important? What kind of issues users could deal during in the purchase process that includes using virtual try-ons. So yes, I think that we are ready to advise the best practices and what could be improved in that kind of solutions.
Fantastic. Guys, so let me start with the first big question is why virtual try-ons? Why that topic? Could you please explain, especially from your personal point of views, what is interesting about that specific matter? If we may start with Agata.
Thanks. I think for us, UX designers, UX researchers, the most interesting thing is what users think about it, and that they are curious about it. So we have noticed some curiosity, and it is a complex solutions. It seems to be fun and engaging. Does it translate into actually using those solutions and benefits for the companies? So there are a lot of different aspects that we can touch upon and investigate and explore. So that makes it very interesting for us.
Guys, would you like to add your perspective on that?
Well, from the machine learning or the data perspective, I think that videos are super interesting, especially because they are created as a composition of few different computer vision solutions. So depending on the custom expectation of the customer, of potential owner of such a virtual try-on solution, and they may vary a lot. For example, we propose completely different components when we target in-shop luxury video in 60 FPS and 4K, because that has pretty high expectations in terms of the performance itself, and completely different components are selected for mobile users when we need to deal with seriously limited computing power and so on. So there are two main elements of this kind of solution. So first of all, we need to detect where to put the item which we try on, and then actually place this item in the right place. In specific cases, it is merged into one step. So for example, in cases of makeup, of clothes, we can use a very complex neural network, but again, this provides you a different kind of trade-off. So it gives you better realism, but it is at the cost of speed. So for us, it is extremely interesting because there is so much different areas to consider while building this kind of virtual try-on, and basically knowing that those areas are something that we need to answer before we start building a virtual try-on solution, and that this will be crucial for the end user experience. Well, I believe this is something really awesome, and that we can do in building such virtual try-on solutions.
Thank you very much for that. So let's say there are three parties in the game. One party are the end customers, which Agata covered. The second party is us, so the technological provider. Let's talk about the third party, so the one who actually pays for the solution, the retailers. What is it in there for them? I have some experience regarding that, but I will be interested in hearing your perspective. What do you think?
Well, let me start again. Like I said before, this is something that users are interested in, and this is exciting and fun and engaging. So companies can offer greater personalization. We improved customer experience. They can also think about accessibility and how to use that for accessibility purposes, and therefore achieve also higher customer engagement. And that's just the tip of the iceberg, I think.
Thank you. Grzegorz, would you like, and Lukasz, would you like to add something from your perspective?
Sure, why not? I can start with some naive elements, and so the engagement, as Agata mentioned already. But I think that there is also the important matter of the perception of being the market technological leader. So you provide some kind of additional wow effect. But as Agata mentioned, this is the tip of the iceberg. So for example, we can analyze which specific products, try-ons were shared to friends. We can get much more insights into products which were tried on together. So for example, if someone buys an item in a shop offline or received it as a present, it may be quite important to virtually try it on with another product together, which we would not know that the customer has. So it can provide us more integration of the data, more integration of the knowledge of actual customer status in terms of omnichannel approach. And there is also one aspect I perceive underestimated today, and something that we already recommended to some of our customers, and like a feature called we call still in the look of your friend or something like that. So we all know it doesn't always work as expected in real life. For example, trying on makeup or something else. But it could be easily tested with a custom virtual try-on. So if it is properly designed, it could be potentially equipped with a specific product recognition, so that you just upload a photo of your colleague and you can virtually try it on. So for example, some specific makeup products or something like that, and immediately got a product recommendation which of the products that were recognized. So you can basically buy that look. So you do not need to look for products. You do not need to figure out what is actually there. So you have like an actionable item, and that basically you just shoot a photo and you can buy the look directly, not investigating what was the specific item and that one applied.
Thank you. Yeah, Lukasz, please.
Yeah, I think about online shopping together with friends, for example, using live chat together with virtual try-ons. So that could move us closer to the real life experience. For example, I could try virtually some glasses or clothes, and my friends or colleagues could comment it instantly, seeing me trying different products. So there is so much possibilities to explore in the future.
Thanks for that. Grzegorz has mentioned the beauty sector a few times. Lukasz has just mentioned the spectacles market, both of which have probably done the biggest number of projects around virtual try-ons. Beauty actually sector has lately showed us how it should be done. They do it properly. They have some strategy about it. So this is where I would like to direct my words to all the retailers that might be out there watching our lives. Do not try to cover all the aspects that Agata, Lukasz, and Grzegorz just mentioned at the same time. It's not possible. It's either about engagement, maybe about converting. It depends. It's all about the strategy behind it, where you would like to place it. Because if you just put it as a gadget on your website and still would like to see it converting, it's not going to happen. We have to do it in a wiser manner. But touching on that, let's move further on. So the research that we did when we tried to grill the retailers, check what's going on the market, whether after these, let's say, 10 years of virtual try-on solutions being on the market, did we get to the point where most of the solutions are excellent, or did we uncover something interesting there? So guys, what are the biggest insights that we found while preparing our report?
Maybe Lukasz.
Lukasz, sure.
So maybe I will start from describing the research. We focused on 4 categories: eyewear, jewelry, shoes, and cosmetics. So we carried out UX audit. We've done usability testing and user interviews. So UX audit. We've checked solutions by 10 brands, user interviews and usability tests with 18 users, and we've tested solutions by 4 brands. We've divided the issues on 3 categories: minor, major, and critical. So the the findings and the most the most interesting for me insights I could divide into few categories. First of all, the technical problems that prevents users from using virtual try-ons. For example, when virtual fitting room function were unavailable because the function didn't show up. So it was the common problem, for example, in Ray-Ban's shop. It creates a funny situations during the test because I tried to switch browsers with participants, and okay, so I asked about another installed browser to check if solution will appear. So I asked about Safari, Chrome, and please at least tell me how many browsers do you have. Maybe we could try on another. And in a few cases, we couldn't start the function on every browser that we've tested, and it was very disappointing moment for the user. The other technical problems were regarding to the starting camera issues when it was a problem to allow camera to access the tool. The second group of the problems was general usability issues. So it was sometimes hard to find an option to change a color. It was like in this case, due to the poor eyesight, the user had to wear their real glasses to see what appears on the screen. So it was really hard to check the look when you have your two pairs of glasses in the same time. It also was the annoying little things like a logo in the wrong place. For example, when someone's tried to check the lipstick color on the Charlotte Tilbury shop, there was a divided line that you could check the look before and after, and the Charlotte Tilbury logo appears exactly on a user's lips, so it's hard to compare the look. There's the third group of problems was the problems with the visualization. There's for example, from my perspective, the most interesting example we have here with the Asian nose bridge, because the glasses were always too high on the face, and the user has to manually adjust the frames on the face. So it was really annoying, and the problem. There was another problems when colors didn't look right. For example, shoes look clunky. Problems with visualization also affect trust for a tool. For example, when some objects seems to be smaller than in real life or bigger. So, for example, when users tries watches, they weren't sure if the product that appears on the hand is in the right size. Next group of the issues is that we have limited tryon options for multiple products. So it is not possible to match several products to each other, and users couldn't try on a set of products. It is especially important in categories like clothes, jewelry, or makeup, because, for example, when someone wants to match a lipstick for a evening makeup, it's hard to hard to put on face the evening makeup just to try lipstick that would match. So it is really important that the solution could allow you to try multiple products at the same time. So the next group of problems, it was the situation when the virtual tryon were unavailable in, for example, some category of products. So it was for example, in Charlotte Tilbury, it was not possible to check every color in the eyeshadow palette. So it was disappointing for the user, because there were no explanation why has it happened. Next group of the problems is lack of look comparison and sharing options. So the main advantage of virtual tryon is that this tool allows you to narrow down your choice, and it works well. But when it comes to comparing the products that you are interested, sometimes it's not working, because you can't compare products in an easy way. Taking a snapshot and using your gallery in your phone is not a solution. It's a workaround. So it would be nice if the tool could help user to compare look and compare product. And the last problem is overall shopping experience. It occurs when the process of purchasing product using virtual tryon was disturbed. For example, when purchase buttons didn't take user where expected, where the virtual tryon solution uses app, and app didn't work well with the online shop, which were on the site. So it was two different places that didn't communicate with each other. So in that case, overall shopping experience was disturbed, and it was hard to check basic details of the product, to check the price, to check the fabric, to check all the necessary details that we have to check before the purchase. And it was one of the main problems that occurs.
Thank you very much. That's what I call grilling. You didn't leave not a bit on the retailers. It is good to hear. The conclusion that comes to my head is that's why we have you UX researchers here with us today, and that's why we have Grzegorz, because if it wasn't for Lukasz and Agata, we wouldn't see, okay, one of the most interesting issues that I've also seen in the past being involved in a startup, in a spectacle startup, is how can I try on my glasses if I have to have my glasses on in order to see myself? So this is something that you will not uncover without a UX research team on your side. At the same time, from the technological point of view, so something that interests Grzegorz, we say, okay, behind the scenes, we think to ourselves, 60 FPS, is that enough? Will that work? Should we maybe add something extra to that? And it turns out that in the end, it is all about is whether or not the solution works in all of the browsers. This is like something that you should actually focus on before moving 10 steps forward and thinking to yourself, 60 FPS, is this the goal that we should aim for, or should we stop a little bit earlier on? But thank you very much, Lukasz, for grilling. Is there anything positive that you guys have seen in the solutions, in the report itself? What can we actually congratulate our retailers for? What did they do well?
Sure. So of course there are things that users like a lot, and the first major thing is that when it works, it's fun, it's engaging, it's something interesting to be able to try on things in the privacy of your own home. It can be practical, but it's also a little bit like a game, a dress-up game. You can do, instead of browsing through TikTok, you can go and browse through fancy shoes or glasses or rings, and it's simply something to do. And I think in our modern world, these kind of engagements people value, especially when they work really well, because it has this wow factor. It's shareable, it's very pleasant, and it can also be a catalyst for downloading brand specific apps and raising brand awareness. And you already have that Ray-Ban app on your phone, so you might as well just buy those glasses instead of some other ones. That's also a plus for a company, of course. Another one would be that it also allows users to experiment with fashion trends. I might not be brave enough to do it in the store because, maybe it's weird that I walk into a certain brand, or for me, it's uncomfortable. And I can really safely, in my own home, experiment, try something out. Again, even just for fun, or maybe because I'm curious. And people appreciate that because it helped people find solutions that would suit them. So that's something very nice.
And retailers benefit because we build desire around these products. We think,
Yes.
wow, this ring, actually, this is something I haven't tried before, but it would change my life from now on.
And it might be that I would never have considered that particular ring, but now seeing it on my hand, I'm gonna go like, well, that's actually not bad. I think I like it, honey. Maybe you should buy me that ring. So that's nice, and like you say, for brand engagement. And another thing is that it saves time. So it's useful because it helps users narrow their options quicker, like I said, from their own comfort. They know what to buy when they arrive in the store. The selection process is faster, it's less hassle, less stress, and therefore there can be fewer abandoned shopping trips. So that's something that users really appreciated a lot.
Guys, thank you to what you just said, and just as a confirmation that we did not made it up, that this is actually what happens. Just look in our comment sections. There are plenty of you telling us, yes, that's what happened to me. I wasn't able to go through the whole process. I wasn't able to see the specific product color that I wished for. This is something that happens to us every now and there. And that's what this report was all about. So let's try to name all these issues, that in order, if we implement a solution in the future, we will prevent this actually quite simple mistakes. So we had a question from our audience, from Radek, and the question was, what do companies risk by providing poorly implemented virtual try-ons app?
Oh, so this is a question of user experience, of course, and it's a little bit about their shopping experience or overall shopping experience and brand experience. If I would walk into a store and I would be trying on clothes that are poorly designed, or the fitting room is not very nice, or doesn't offer me privacy, or if there is no mirror, I simply would walk out of the store being like, well, it's not really a nice brand if they cannot do that well. And that translates a little bit into a virtual or digital experience. So if as a brand I do offer such thing, it can be fun, but there is also risk. If it doesn't work well, it can be frustrating. It might discourage me from continuing with that brand. It might be just like, no, I don't want those shoes, because if they do everything like they do this app, then I don't want to have anything to do with them. So we have to be careful, because this is a touch point with a brand. This is possibly a starting journey for us to buy something or abandon this particular item and go to a different brand or different store, or not use digital solutions at all. So I think the biggest risk is there. We can create desire, we can create this fun factor, and we can have people engaged, and that will translate into loyal users or very good, nice brand connotations. But if we fail, we risk that it will do exactly opposite.
Thanks, Agata. And if I may, another question from our audience, actually a question from Maria, and I believe Lukasz will be happy to answer that. If you would have to point out one most common weakness of virtual try-on, what would that be? So, Lukasz, you actually have searched through a ton of different solutions. If you were to point the one that is maybe the most often, or maybe the most critical one, it's up to you to decide. What would you name? What would you say?
Let me think, because it's a hard question to pick only one, but I could say make virtual try-ons visible. So if you have that solution on a page in your shop, make it always visible. Make, even if it's some categories or some items couldn't be available in virtual try-on, please explain it to the customer. Why is it happening? But we have that solution, and we show on a store, on a site that is available. Don't hide it when it's not available, because the experience of the user is the users are confused. Why is it available in one category, in one item, and why it isn't in other? So that would be the first issue that I would point.
Do you hear us, all the UX and the UI guys? This is something that you should focus on. So if you have a product, a big green bottle in the middle, virtually try it on, check it out. If you have the solution, take advantage of it. If you are trying to hide it, maybe having that solution at all is not a way. Sometimes we can help you with that whenever you need it. You need it. We are here to help.
And also, if I may add, sorry, David,
Please.
it's also fine to have it only available for some items. Just be transparent about it. Just put it up front, like, hey, this item you can try on virtually. this one you cannot. So either advertise it on that specific product page or just communicate it clearly.
Definitely. If it's even from the operational point of view, I cannot create, I have 5,000 SKUs, I cannot create 5,000 virtual models in my solution. If it's that, let the customer know in a nice way in order for him not to get frustrated. Okay, so the second model, well, where can I virtually try it on? This is the model that I would buy and I cannot do it. I could do it previously, just 2 minutes ago. Let him know, inform him about it in a nice way. Obviously, this will actually be a benefit of your sites, showing your transparency. You can only benefit from that, especially when it comes to the clients that are quite engaged in the brand. Trying to maybe touch the topic from another perspective. What can we do about it? How can we take these problems that we have right now, the issues that we came up with, and turn it into strengths, especially the critical ones? Does any ideas come to your mind?
I think some we've discussed. So like being transparent and communicating and putting it like advertising. We have it if we have it as a company. So that's a big point. Well, testing it with users. That's always a very, very good advice. So just do it because it's always very unique for each brand. And while we have a report that covers a specific some number of brands, it also doesn't touch upon all the possibilities of virtual try-ons. So test it.
Thank you for that. We had another question from Michał, who actually encouraged us that we're having quite a cool discussion. Thank you for that, Michał. But the question is, what are the biggest technical challenges brands are facing right now? And I believe our one and only Grzegorz will be a great person to answer that, as he works on the technical side of this solution as his everyday job. Grzegorz, let us know, what is that?
Sure. So I think the few areas. The first of all is actually how to digitize the product, especially that you mentioned. We may have a situation where we have 5,000 products. We need to digitize them. It is not always so straightforward. That highly depends on the kind of a product. It is much easier to digitize, let's say, a shoe than to digitize the jewelry. Sometimes you require a 3D scanner, which is quite dedicated. Sometimes you could do that yourself with just a cell phone. So there are different setups. And it is quite important to have in mind what actually is the volume of items to be digitized and how to do that in the embedding of the current processes that are in your company. Because, for example, sending 5,000 items through half of the world just to spend few months on digitizing them, I don't think it's a super solution for building a virtual try-on, not a long-term one, definitely. And then we have some technical challenges for sure with the available compute power of the devices. So wherever you embed your virtual try-on, and there are some limitations. If you want to do it on mobile phone, sure, we have some neural embedded processors and so on, but it is still limited as compared to high-end computers. Even if we are using a web browser, we are rather not assuming that someone has a gaming PC, but rather we are assuming that it should work with any kind of laptop or even some smaller, thinner versions that do not have a dedicated GPU card and so on and so on. So there is always this limitation of the capabilities of the compute power. And it may be quite crucial, especially in terms of what Lukasz mentioned with the glasses on glasses problem on Ray-Ban's virtual try-on. So removal of this kind of glasses is possible. I would not say it's not possible, but it always comes with a cost in terms of performance. So perhaps virtually trying on these glasses and removing the old glasses, just using browser, could be not an option for low-end computers, but could be an option for high-end computers. But we rather try to not overcomplicate the virtual try-ons themselves. So there may be issues like that, but as we proceed, as the compute power rises, I believe we will be able to remove this kind of issues. In general, this is the area where the approaches are known, but the compute power is the limitation. And then there is the last area where we have, for example, the elements of stabilization, light adjustment, and so on and so on. So that depends quite a lot on whether we aim to be generic virtual try-on solution, or we just want to address a specific kind of product. So, for example, we can do some adjustments for shoes only, which will not work well for jewelry, for example. And it is not necessarily connected to VTOs only, or the methods that are used there are not necessarily also connected to VTOs. Sometimes they are only in scientific publications, so it is not like you can just plug and play. You need to go down to the scientific publication route. You need to investigate whether this is something that will actually solve your problem or not, and it requires a very good specification of the problem that you are actually solving. So if we can tell we are focusing on shoes, we can look for specific literature. An example of that may be the method that we applied in one of our projects. It was quite of a complex method for decomposing and reshaping an image into triangles, which itself, if you take a look at the publication, has nothing in common with virtual try-ons. But for that specific case, it was a core engine for this setup. So moving the product, putting it into the image was actually realized 100% through those triangles. So taking a look at that, you would need to simply review much wider literature than just ready plug and play applications.
I can only confirm what Grzegorz said is true. So actually, the whole data science team goes through a ton of scientific publications. They posted them to us through Slack, telling us, okay, there is a new approach to that thing. But when you mentioned what I really like, the glasses on glasses issue, it doesn't have to be specifically the technical solution that addresses that. Why not just what Lukasz touched previously, have a few shots of yourself in different glasses without having your glasses on. You just take simple shot, just pressing the space on your keyboard. And then after the whole process, you can put your original glasses back on and see on the screen what did you like and what you do not like about certain pair of glasses. But if I may touch also one more time to what you said in the very beginning, something we have talked about previously. So using your phone in order to create models. Could you elaborate on that just a bit? Because I think that's one of the, I would say, most current trends when creating 3D models, and something that might be very interesting for our audience.
Sure. There are some cases when you can use your phone to generate the models. For example, that does not work for jewelry, but can work perfectly for shoes. So you shot a set of photos like 100 or 200 or something like that, but 200 already provides you like a top tier model, which is in most cases already overcomplicated. So we simplify that again on the post-processing level. So you shoot a set of photos, you can upload those photos. It may be done via custom application. You upload those photos to a PC or to cloud. Then it is post-processed into a 3D model. There are some elements of the post-processing that simplify the 3D model, and because putting all the details, 100% of the details that was captured with the photos would not be feasible to transfer then to a mobile device or to client's browser, because it would be simply too heavy in terms of megabytes. Imagine yourself just playing with virtual try-on and consuming your mobile internet like 1 gigabyte per hour or something like that just by playing with virtual try-on. That's infeasible, right? So we need to make this model much lighter. So we reduce the number of vertices that are in the image. So basically we simplify it, we smooth it a bit. It still looks nice. There are methods to make sure it will look nice. But for example, from 100 megabytes, we can go down to like 6 megabytes or something like that. And this is much more feasible already. And then there are some elements that you can simply resolve on the device. For example, with the elements that influence how the model is looking like. So to adjust the lighting and so on. So this is doable with the phone. You can just take a set of photos, upload it to a specific server that simply does once the post-processing of the model, and then you have a ready-to-use model on your virtual try-on solution. You do not need to send all the products to a dedicated company with a 3D scanners and so on and so on.
So to all the retailers listening to us, guys, can you hear what Grzegorz just said? So you do not have to worry anymore about packing, let's say, 100 pairs of your glasses, sending them to your vendor, to your solution provider, ask them for a 3D models, which they usually charge you for. You actually take your phone, take 100 photos in a very easy setup, and that might enable you to create a 3D model thanks to an app only based on this 100 photos. In my opinion, that's like another milestone when it comes to 3D modeling as a whole, but also virtual try-on solutions, because they become accessible more than ever before. And
if I may interrupt a second, I would be careful specifically with glasses. Glasses are quite similar to jewelry in that area because they are very shiny, right? There is a lot of light reflections. So, and the photo with your mobile may have some issues at the beginning, at least. And this is something that would require a bit more research whether it would work this way specifically. But for shoes, for clothes, and so on, that is perfectly feasible solution.
Yeah, but one way of addressing that could be that you actually pop out the glasses, the glass itself, the lens from the model, and create a model based on that. And then maybe if there is a need, if we decide with our customers that I actually would like to see some kind of a lens inside, maybe virtually applying it on the model, that might be a solution itself, just to present, because
yes,
we
definitely.
always know we always know we not wear the frames themselves without the lens. We actually always have the lens on as well. Therefore, it changes what it looks like. But definitely an issue that can be addressed. Touching on accessibility previously, we can maybe now move on to another question from our audience. So Philip tried to play a trick with us and ask us a tricky question, that is virtual try-on versus accessibility. Is that topic even being addressed now, or are we technologically at the securing the fundamentals phase? Will you be willing to answer that? I see Agata smiling already. Agata, what do you think?
I can start, but then I think I'll pass on the technology part to Grzegorz. So UX wise, I think that we are not there yet. It has an amazing potential, but it's a two-folded question. So on one hand, you can think of virtual try-ons as a solution that can be a potential game changer for companies that want to address their users that need accessibility features, or users that are unable to go to the store and can actually try on virtually things in the privacy of their own home. Before my Netguru days, I used to work in a medical company where we would use such solution for hearing instruments, hearing devices, and that was amazing for users who were not able to travel. For example, in the United States, where the distances were big quite often. So there is a huge opportunity there to serve an underserved user group, actually, and it's a wonderful potential that I think companies could really explore, and I would encourage them to. But then, when it comes to accessibility of the virtual try-on solutions itself, I think this is a little bit of an uncharted territory. And while basic accessibility rules, the same that we would apply for websites, could apply there, I haven't seen this being researched. I haven't seen this being tested. We must be honest, we also have not tested the accessibility of those solutions. But from what we have seen, there might be issues in the way it is used, in the way it works on the phone. And of course, it will be difficult to serve all groups of users when it comes to accessibility. So that's a topic that we definitely need to explore more. But it's an interesting one. And I think as Netguru, we are really interested in accessibility right now and putting a lot of focus on this. So we will definitely be looking into that as well when designing solutions like this.
Yeah,
Do you think we are technologically there to address that?
Well, I don't think that in the ML part itself there is much we could do, and in the area of accessibility, especially in this specific setup, it much more depends on the setup in which the machine learning is used, not the machine learning itself. So I would say the part where we could address it from the accessibility perspective is actually still on the level of designing the user experience, on designing the customer journey, how someone interacts with the virtual try-on, because that's where the accessibility issues may appear. It's not whether the model actually puts your glasses on glasses or something like that, which is what we could directly address with the machine learning part. It is rather how to design the specific flow of the user through the virtual try-on, so that it is accessible to them. In terms of that, I would need to simply agree to you, Agata, and to all that you mentioned already. We are doing this kind of investigations, maybe not 100% from accessibility perspective, but in general, how machine learning is embedded in the customer experience, in customer journey, so that we understand all the details, because it can completely change the machine learning models that are used out there. For example, this poses different limitations from the performance perspective. It poses different limitations from the perspective of what we can show, how we can show it, and so on and so on. So it is super important while designing this kind of virtual try-on solution and any other machine learning solution, but it is not 100% embedded into the model, I would say. The machine learning guy does not think about it while he implements a specific model. It is one step earlier when we are figuring out which models actually should be applied.
I think one very important thing to mention here is that when we think about virtual try-ons and accessibility, we need to think about the visual impact the certain disabilities or challenges that users are facing have. And so a solution like this should be able to correctly fit things, rings, glasses, earrings, on people with very, very varying features, physical features, so that it doesn't create really challenging situations or unpleasant situations for users who could really benefit from using that from their privacy, from the privacy of their home, because maybe it's challenging for them to go to a store, but that we wouldn't want to frustrate them, upset them,
Well, There is always an issue, for example, in terms of diversity in the training set for the machine learning model. So, for example, when we want to recognize where the item should be placed in the image, and we need to take care of different aspects of, for example, impairments and so on that may appear, which would impact where that item would appear on the photo. So this is something that we signal to our customers always, and that we need to take care of that. Or at least be fair and state that, well, this is the area where the application may not work as expected. At least we need to be fair there. So this is that we signal. Sometimes it is feasible to provide such a data set, but on the other hand, you need to remember that we need to collect this kind of data first. So it is not always pleasant also for those people to provide this kind of data just for the sake of some abstract machine learning model training and so on and so on. So this is something that we need to keep in mind. Of course, we need to keep in mind that there are such cases and that it may impact, but it is at the level of designing the machine learning system. Sometimes it impacts the selection of a specific machine learning model, sure, but we need to think of that one step ahead, not after we did something.
Guys, for a second, I thought I'm not even needed here anymore. I thought you would get the conversation going on and on. I'm glad, as usual, that the virtual try-on topic is still interesting for us. Still, as mentioned in the beginning, has a lot to uncover. But moving things a little bit forward, and a question I believe would nicely wrap it up, everything that we said today. So in 3 to 5 sentences from all of you guys, what do you think? How far are we from the mass adoption of virtual try-ons? Because it was introduced 10 years ago, let's say, more or less. During this time, some of the brands have touched them. It's not that we go to every fashion jewelry spectacle site and we see a virtual try-on. It's still something that happens rather. It's not that obvious for most of the retailers. So the question is, 3 to 5 sentences, mass adoption, whether or not and when. Lukasz, would you like to start?
Yeah, from my perspective, it's happening right now. When I think about, especially about stores with spectacles, I think that it is a common solution right now, and it becomes a standard in the online stores, bigger online stores. So it's I think we are really close that it's gonna be a mass adoption in retails, but it depends on the category, because there are more categories that are more difficult to implement and less difficult to implement, and it depends on the providing the tested solutions on the market.
Thank you, Agata. What would you add? Also, from, I would say, consumers' perspective, how do you see it going?
I think it gathers traction, and there is huge potential for it right now. And like you said, there was a moment 10 years ago when there was hype for that, and somehow it didn't catch on. But maybe it was a moment of timing, and we are in a different moment in time right now, in a different social situation right now, with the world around us that has changed in the past 3 years in a way that we didn't expect at all, and it's shifted the way we work, we live, we socialize, we shop, and that creates challenges but also opportunities. And virtual try-on is an answer to some of those, I think. So I think it has a chance of happening, and it's worth looking into, definitely.
So from the UX perspective, we are ready. From the technological perspective, we are ready. Grzegorz, when is it already happening? Do you already see a trend yourself?
That actually depends. So there are already some plug and play virtual try-on solutions for like Shopify or other shops that are quite popular. In some cases, these solutions may be cost-effective solution if you just want to keep up. But the question is whether you just want to keep up or you want something more. So if you aim to really drive your user experience, you will need to answer a few tough questions about the trade-offs that you will have to balance correctly. For example, is it okay to make the realism sky high but exclude users of older devices, or should we double the work for the specific logic behind? Because this will all depend how massive will be the adoption of a virtual try-on and whether that serves a specific purpose that you have in mind or not. And due to some challenges, I believe that a really well-fitting solution can be achieved rather with an external technological partner, because a computer vision expert wouldn't be that easy to recruit and hire nowadays. So in this area, there may be some challenges. And if you want to drive the experience just beyond selling the product, I see no other option actually than investing in a custom virtual try-on solution. Maybe not building it in-house, but with a technological partner and so on. It may be on basis of an existing solution. It doesn't have to be built from scratch. But if you want to be perceived as a leader, you know what are your specific processes. You do not want to have something that is very generic and, for example, makes your shoes look like plastic, right? No one wants to buy plastic shoes that do not scale to your foot size or so, or after scaling are your Adidas boots are up to your knees or something like that, right? So that depends how realistic the experience is supposed to be, because for generic cases there are already solutions for massive adoption. When it comes to really dedicated solutions that will drive users' experience, I believe there is a huge gap, and it will depend on the capacity of the devices in terms of compute power and how much the companies will invest basically in building those solutions that will address their specific products, their specific areas that they want to be leaders in.
Is that a wrap up or what? I believe you've covered, you Lukasz, you Agata, you Grzegorz, you have covered the topic from all the perspective that we can imagine. I would like to remind our audience that the report can still be downloaded, and there is even more inside than we have just said. We have worked on this report for quite some time, so I strongly encourage you to take advantage of that, as it is free. To you guys, to you Agata, Lukasz, Grzegorz, thank you for the report that came to life. Thanks to our work. Thank you for this today's call. I'm even stronger encouraged and positive that it is very important to combine all these talents at the same time. So the UX talent, the technological talent, the business perspective, no matter what technological solution you implement, all these should be taken into consideration. And I'm really glad to have you always alongside me when discussing these topics. And once again, to our audience, guys, we have these lives going on quite frequently, different kind of disruption talks, different kind of LinkedIn lives. Follow us on different medias. You will have the free access to different conversations covering different topics, sometimes more focused on business, sometimes more focused on the technological side, but all of them are very interesting, so feel encouraged to do so. Thank you guys once again. Fantastic talking to you. I hope to see you in the nearest future. Thank you to our audience for great amount of questions and engaging in the discussion. Have a great day and see you all soon.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you guys.
Bye.
Thanks. Goodbye.